Hoia forest, the forest that devoured science. In the winter of 1968, around Cluj-Napoca in Romania, the city's air was colder than ever. But what truly froze hearts wasn't the temperature, it was the news that came from the depths of the Hoia forest. A forest that appeared to be just a natural area with dense trees, but beneath those leaves, things breathed that were beyond human comprehension. That year, Drive, Alexandru Sef, a young scientist and brain and mind researcher, was sent to this region by the university due to a strange discovery. It had been rumored that unusual magnetic anomalies were present in the heart of the forest, and even photographs had been released showing a perfect circle in the middle of the forest with no trees in sight. It was precisely the spot that locals referred to as the Eye of the Forest. Alexandru, unlike most of his colleagues, had no belief in the supernatural. He was the kind of scientific mind who thought there was a logical explanation for everything. But from the first day of his arrival, he realized that this time, logic might not prevail, and neither would he. On the first night, when he set up his tent next to the dry circle, everything was strange but controlled. The electronic devices were working fine, and the sounds around him were normal. But just after 3 in the morning, he heard a faint tapping sound. It was like fingernails scratching the trunk of a tree. When he looked outside, he saw nothing. But when he turned back inside, he noticed that his watch had stopped, the hands frozen, exactly at 3:03. On the second day, he ventured into the circle and began setting up his measuring equipment. While installing the cameras, he felt something behind him. He turned around, but there was no one there. However, when he reviewed the footage that night, a blurry image of a woman in old clothes appeared for just a few seconds, standing next to a tree, and then vanished. At first, he thought it was a lens distortion or a problem with the lighting. But on the third day, she was there again, and this time, a little closer. This woman wasn't visible on any of the audio or light recording equipment, only in the footage. And each time, she got closer. Dr. Sef still hadn't backed down. He wrote in his notebook, "Most likely, we're dealing with some sort of optical illusion or severe magnetic disturbance. I must not get caught up in imagination." But the noises he heard on the fourth night were not an illusion. The sound came from deep beneath the ground. It was as if someone was calling from below. A woman's voice, muffled, with an old tone. "Don't turn back. You belong here." That night, after hearing the voice, he tried to leave his tent and return to the main base. But the compass was pointing in every direction except the path out. When he tried to retrace his steps, after 3 hours of walking, he found himself back at the same circle. Exactly the same place. He wrote in his notebook, "It seems like the forest is shifting, or I'm lost. Maybe both." From the 5th night onward, Alexandru's behavior started changing. The footage from the cameras he had set up showed him staring at an indistinct point for hours without moving. Sometimes, without reason, he would get up and walk around the circle. Other times, he would talk to himself. In one of the videos, he quietly muttered under his breath, "They're in my mind. They're feeding on my memories." On the 7th day, he discovered a strange object in the middle of the circle. A flat stone, like an altar, with strange symbols etched into it in an unknown language. When he touched the stone, the camera footage began to glitch. But a voice recorded on the audio clearly said, Your name is no longer Alexandru. You are no longer that person. That night, in his notebook, he wrote, "Since I touched the stone, I no longer dream. I don't sleep. I just see, awake, but in places that aren't mine." But the story was far from over. On the 8th morning, his scream echoed through the trees. The cameras showed him running from something. Something that couldn't be seen, but the shadows of the trees strangely seemed to move back, as if something was truly chasing him. Everything abruptly cut off. The video went black. 10 days later, a search team arrived in the area. There was no sign of his body. His tent, notebook, cameras, and equipment were all in place. But what caused real fear was this: the camera was still running. The battery hadn't drained, the memory card wasn't full, and the last recorded file was just a single sentence in his own voice. "You don't understand. They're not looking for science, they're looking for souls." After this incident, the Romanian government declared the dry circle area off limits. But people still occasionally hear footsteps in the misty nights. Sometimes, the old camera footage plays from the heart of the forest. Click, click, with the sound of static. And some swear they hear a voice that sounds like a man, speaking to the circle. "I'm still here, I'm recording." But the worst event happened in 2003, when a documentary team accidentally ventured into that same spot in the forest. 2 of them reported encountering shapes and shadows that were neither human nor animal. As the team ventured deeper into the circle, the sounds of birds and animals around them grew quieter. Suddenly, one of the cameras bizarrely turned on by itself, showing an image of someone lying underground, seemingly opening their eyes to look out. A terrifying voice of a woman was clearly heard from the camera's recording. "If you want to survive, don't go back, someone else is leaving now." And then, all the cameras turned off. No trace of the documentary team was found. But when the camera boxes were recovered, the final image was something that should never have been seen by human eyes. Alexandru, with completely black eyes, staring at the camera, reaching his hand toward the lens. After that, everything in the forest went silent. No one was able to find even a small trace of what had been there. Until in 2011, once again, a team of researchers from various universities went to Hoia forest for another investigation. But only one report remained. When they entered the dry circle, all of their equipment failed. Anything they had with them, even communication devices, became unusable within minutes. Only a loud scream was heard from deep in the forest. A scream that strangely merged with Alexandru's voice. After that, nothing remained. The researchers still haven't released that report. But for those who dare to approach this dangerous forest, only one warning remains: you might not return.
Don't forget, like and subscribe for more stories. And don't be spellbound.